And I go, what's up guys, it's me, the Great What If here, back with another video. And I was looking through the comments and I see a couple saying we should ship Deku with Miracle. Not Miracle, Miracle if I'm pronouncing her name right. So that's what the ship is gonna be. And if you wanted to make a multi-ship, just comment down below what type of ship do you guys want to see, and I'll see if I can do it. Alright, now let's get back into the video. So now we see Deku, he wants to explore the city, since he's been gone for almost part of his life and wanted to see what's going on. And he asks his dad if he can go and explore. He knows exactly where his house is, so he wouldn't go off that far. Sashi, he said that it's alright, and you can go and explore. So, Izuku doesn't really need permission from Hasashi, but Hasashi is a little bit worried since he doesn't know exactly where Izuku's gonna go, or is he gonna get lost. And a lot of things changed. Part of it is what's called neighborhood that back then where Izuku thought they live. He was walking down the street until he sees a beach, and when Izuku was there for the first time when he was 4 or something, he went there with his family and all, and the beach the beach was beautiful, all clean, not even a little tiny bit of dirt. But when Izuku goes around and walks, he sees a whole pile of trash, a little bit more trash than it had in canon. This shit reaches all the way to the freaking sea. And Izuku, he's mad because no one has ever tried to at least pick it up or do something about it. So Izuku, he thinks about fixing up the whole beach, since no one is ever gonna use it, and some people might be actually happy. But Izuku continues to walk around, and he goes to this tunnel. He doesn't know where he's actually going, but he's just going where the flow or where the wind is going. And Izuku, he's wearing casual clothing, and he's still wearing his eye patch and his military cap. And it has a little rank on top of his cap, and and that's what he kept from the military. So at this point, Izuku is a commander. He wasn't a sergeant anymore. He got promoted to commander, but then right after he was promoted to commander, a few months passed, he left. And in the flashback, now we're seeing Izuku walk towards this tunnel, and he hears something coming out of what's called sewer, until he senses someone, and he jumps back. And once he sees who it is, it was the sludge villain. "Hey kid, give me that body of yours, huh?" And Izuku, he's not even showing any emotion, but just looks dead in the eyes of the sludge villain. And sludge villain can feel the bloodlust that Izuku's letting out. Since Izuku has killed before, he's not afraid to show it. And the slime monster, he gets a little nervous, and he just tries to push that bloodlust away and just ignore it, and just goes straight to Izuku. And Izuku, he uses his fire and burns the slime into tiny little pieces. Izuku, he makes a little sword of flame and cuts the slime even more, making him agonize in pain. And Izuku, he's a little bit smiling, but he doesn't want to show it. And he looks at the slime monster and says, "What were you really doing?" And the slime monster just said, "I just wanted your body, man. Come on." And All Might just comes out of nowhere and says, "I am here, like a real hero." Holy shit, what happened here? And he just sees Izuku just poking the slime with his sword. And All Might, he doesn't even do his Detroit Smash or anything. He just walks up to Izuku and says, "Young man, are you allowed to use her quirk?" And Izuku doesn't really pay attention to All Might, since he just sees him as a random person. And All Might is taken back by this, that even a like teen or an older man as him does not even recognize who All Might is. And All Might, he still has the injury and everything. And yeah. So he asked the boy's name, and he tells him Izuku. And All Might says, young Izuku, could you please help me out with the whole slime thing? And Izuku obliges and uses telekinesis to bring up what's called plastic bottles from the area they were in, and they put the slime villain in, and Midoriya lit his hand on fire and tries to melt the plastic for the villain cannot get out since they couldn't find a cap on it. All Might, he's stunned at how he can use at least 2 quirks. Well, that's what he thinks. He has Izuku, young man, do you have 2 quirks? And Izuku just looks at him and says, it's none of your concern, and I'll be on my way. And All Might, he thinks that he's working with All for One, but he really doesn't want to jump to conclusions just yet. So All Might, he says goodbye and jumps off. And Izuku, he's just walking, looking at other places. He goes to the mall. He looks at other clothing, and he notices that there's a bunch of girls watching him, and some of them are fangirling over him, and they think that he's a hero. Well, he's old enough to be a hero. And Izuku, he doesn't really pay attention that much, so he just continues to walk. And there was a villain attack, and there was a robbery happening. And Miracle was there and a few other heroes, and they were going against a couple of villains. These villains had different kinds of quirks. One of them has water manipulation, and the other ones had daggers, and a guy can cover his body in pointy spikes. So all 3 of them are trying to rob a bank, while Miracle and a few other heroes were there. Izuku, he sees this, but he doesn't really that much pay attention until he sees one of the guys pull out a gun and aim it at Miracle. An instant flashback comes back as, Izuku still back in the army, and he had to watch one of his comrades die when they were ambushed. And Izuku, he feels this heart drop, and he doesn't show emotion, but his eyes are, what those enemies are when the protagonist is shaking his eye or something around that. I don't know how do you say it, but he's doing that. And Izuku, without a second notice, bolts to there, using his telekinesis to get there as fast as he can. And once the gun shoots out, and Miracle does not notice this, Izuku stands in front and takes the bullet. Well, he got shot, but he feels no pain. Why is that? Because he had felt many pain before, and he was brutally tortured too. He was captured by some of the terrorists, and he was brutally beaten and tried to get information out of Izuku. And since he was a kid and all, they didn't really care, and they beat him. He got a bunch of scars all over his body, so getting a bullet doesn't really hurt him that much, but he flinches in pain. Izuku uses telekinesis to pull out the bullet, and Miracle, she's astounded that this man just came out of nowhere and just helped her and took a bullet for her. So she asks the man if he's alright, and Izuku just pulls out the bullet and says, I'm fine, and shoots it back at the villain, killing him straight in the head. Miracle tells him that, hey, you can't just kill him. We have to beat him up. And Izuku, he smirks, but he just walks off. Miracle tries to stop him, saying that he needs to go to the hospital and needs to get that checked out, but Izuku just looks at her and blankly just stares at her and just says, I don't really need help. Now, I am allowed to leave, am I not? And Miracle, she feels this aura around him, and she just lets him go immediately. And she's just thinking to herself, who the hell is this kid? And she's around the age of 24. So I'm going to make her around that age. So, but she has felt his hand, and it's bulky. And she feels her hand and remembers it, and she a little bit blushes, but doesn't want to show it and try to act tough. And the other heroes already taken care of those villains and already put them in the car, but they had to call the ambulance and everyone for that one villain who got killed. So the ambulance and police are there. They're trying to, assess the crime scene, and he questioned the other heroes on who did it, but Miracle just said that it was just a random person who just took a bullet for her and just killed the guy. So Miracle just says maybe it was just self-defense, and he just shot at him. And the police took notice of this and asked who it was, but once they went for looking for Izuku, he was already gone. And Izuku is walking around, he's still bleeding a little bit, but he uses his telekinesis to put back all his blood in and hold it in. Well, he had to concentrate while walking doing that, and it is a little bit painful for him, but he pushes through the pain until he hears a huge explosion and he sees smoke. So he started running towards it, and he sees that there's a bunch of heroes just standing there doing nothing while he sees a slime, and he sees it covering this boy, what he thinks is just a little boy, but is actually Katsuki Bakugo. And Izuku doesn't really know how Bakugo looks like, since they've been separated for at least a good, not couple years, at least maybe, at least, I'm guessing around, no, Izuku's about 18. So he went to the military school at 5, so it would be 13 years. So he hasn't seen Bakugo for over 13 years, and he just sees the other heroes doing nothing, and Izuku asks why the hell are they not doing anything, and why are they standing here doing nothing? Well, the others, other civilians are saying, yeah, come on, you're heroes, save that boy, poor boy. And the heroes, they don't know what to do. They're panicking, and they're waiting for other heroes to come to see if they can do something. And Izuku, he gets angry that they're not so-called heroes, but they're doing nothing. So Izuku, he puts his cap and gives it to a civilian and saying, please take care of this while I finish this. The civilian, she's a girl, and she blushes and says, okay, sir. And Izuku, he walks towards the slime villain. The other heroes try to stop him, but Izuku just uses his telekinesis to simply wave at them, and they go, they were pushed back. And Izuku just continues to walk with his hands in his pockets and tells the slime hero to get the hell away from him. But the slime hero just says, it's you again. Finally have a real body, but don't you dare ever take it. He's mine. And he tries to continue suffocating him, but Izuku just uses telekinesis to separate the slime with the other kid that he doesn't know, until he sees it's a full-on grown teen. So he throws the slime villain against the wall, causing a little crater, and he puts that was called the teen down, and the teen is just yelling at him, saying that, hey, I could have done something, why? I had him, and just making up some bullshit. And Izuku recognizes yelling and all, and he sees his explosions in his hands, and immediately he says, Bakugo? And Bakugo doesn't know how Izuku looks like, and he just says, how do you know my name, you extra? And in Izuku's mind, he says, yep, that's definitely Bakugo, no doubt about it. I should just let the slime villain take care of him. Slime villain goes after Midoriya, and you just hear Detroit Smash, and you just see this huge hurricane just come right through, and you see All Might. All Might, he praises the boy, Kachan, to how long he lasted and all, but Izuku's getting scolded by the other heroes, saying that was dangerous and he should never have done that. But Izuku doesn't really care, and this infuriates other heroes, and they try to take him down to the station for questioning. But Izuku just uses his flame and tells them not to touch him, or he will get burnt, or they will get burned. And he went back to the civilian who had his cap and asked her if he could have his cap back. She gives her what's called his cap on, but Izuku does not notice that he's actually half naked. Well, thanks to the blast and all that Kachin has, exploded around him, it caused some of the flame to burn off Izuku's top. So Izuku looks like this. He just looks ripped, and she's just blushing, and she just tried to contain her nosebleed. She's covering her nose and all, and says, she just can't even say a word. So Izuku just walks off, and he uses his telekinesis to fly up, and he's flying, and people are seeing that, and they were asking before he went. He says what his quirk is, but Izuku does not say anything and just flies away. So All Might sees this, and All Might secretly follows Izuku. While freaking All Might was jumping from building to building, trying to follow Izuku while not being seen, and we get to a point in canon where All Might is in front of Izuku while Izuku is walking back home, and says, "Young man, you are strong enough to surpass even me. So I ask you to take my quirk." And Izuku, he's dumbfounded and asks, "Wait, can you not pass on quirks or anything? I heard of mutation, but really?" And All Might says, "This is a special quirk. It's called One for All." And Izuku, he's just surprised that there's actually a quirk that he can pass on, but he quickly gets rid of that emotion on his face and just says, "No deal." And he continues to walk off, but All Might, he's dumbfounded and says, "Wait, kid, this could give you a huge boost to your power, and even more." And Izuku, he stops, and he looks back and asks what kind of power. "It'll give you immense strength, even possible give you even more quirks." And Izuku, he looks down, and he sees his hand and starts using his fire, and he's deciding whether to take it or not, but he came to the conclusion to not take it, even though if it's a powerful quirk. He does not want to get his position for free. He wants to get his position in hard work and effort, not just a free pass. So Izuku just tells All Might that he's sorry, but he will not take his quirk. All Might, he tries one more time, but Izuku just looks at him and says, "Alright, old man, I told you this once, and I won't tell you again. My answer is no." And Izuku, he just annoyed that just a random person just decided to give him his quirk. He doesn't even know this guy. And All Might just introduced himself before the whole conversation started. He says that he's All Might and he's the #1 hero in the whole Japan district. And that's the end of that flashback. So Izuku, he's walking back, and he still sees the trash there, and he decides that he is going to fix it. But first, he needs to get a change of clothing since other people are just watching him in awe. So he goes back home. Izuku questions why he's half naked, and he just says there was a fire, and that's all. And he just goes back to his room and puts on a shirt, and it's like a black tank top, and he's wearing like sweatpants. And he tells his mom and dad that he's gonna go out and will be back before sunset. So he puts on, his Adidas, his fresh kicks, and just starts to walk towards the beach. And thanks to his immense strength, and he has fully control of his quirk, he was able to get rid of all the trash in just a span of a week. Yeah, he separated them, so it took like an extra 3 weeks just to separate the plastic from the trash. And Izuku, he sees many things that were thrown, and some of them were like still in good condition. Like he even found a barrel to an M1 Grand, not an M1 Grand, an M4, and he wonders who the hell would throw this away. So he separates them all, and he throws them all to the trash and recycles all the plastic. Now the beach looks as clean as a motherfucker. And it was very easy because he has his telekinesis and he has his fire to dispose of all the trash. Well, he did some extra lifting, so he got a little bit more buffer, but Izuku does not notice this. So he has at least 8 months and a half to decide if he's ever he's gonna do the entrance exam or he's gonna take the recommendation that Gabriel gave him. But he decides that he's gonna take the entrance exam because he really doesn't want to have a free pass, because he decides that hard work gives him a better understanding in how the school will work instead of getting a free pass about it. So he talks to Gabriel when he gets home. He talks to Gabriel and says sorry, but he doesn't need that recommendation anymore. And Gabriel asks why, and Izuku explains all of it. And Gabriel's fully understanding about this, so he says, "Alright, kid, do you." And Izuku decides to train, even though he's already as OP as fuck. But he decides to train because he doesn't want to be a couch potato. So Izuku trains. He masters his the best he can with his quirk, and he has more control over he can imbue his weapons. And he was able to imbue his weapons for more than a couple seconds, so he's able to imbue his weapons for at least a couple of hours. And he uses up his energy, yes, but he has endurance, and he runs all the time. He runs 10 miles. He does a bunch of push-ups, bunch of sit-ups, and just regular exercise. And by the end span of 9 months, he's already a master of his quirk. Here you can see what the limits his quirk can be and how much he can actually carry with his telekinesis. So now is the UA entrance exam, and he's walking towards there. He doesn't trip. Even, he just looks forward to all the fighting that is gonna happen, or he's just excited, but he doesn't really want to show it. So he's wearing this full-on military suit. It doesn't have a rank or anything. He's wearing that with a coat over him, over it, but he doesn't really put on a coat. He just lets it hang over the wind. You know how those cool anime protagonists looks like? Yeah, he looks like that. So yeah, he's walking there. He's getting stares from men and women, a bunch of women actually, and even some of the teachers. Not gonna lie, Midnight. Ooh, she's seeing that, and Miracle is there because she decides to be a UA trainee. She's a rookie, even though she's the number 5 hero. She never became a teacher, so she's getting talked with Mr. Nezu, and they were outside when Mirko just looks at Izuku, and she remembers him. She remembers the green hair, and she just sees over body of like how Izuku looks like, and she's blushing, and she does not like. She was about to get like a nosebleed from all this, but she kept her physique and started like talking to Nezu while not like staring at Izuku. Izuku, he's getting annoyed from all the stares, but he just continues walking. And some of them notice that he has an eye patch and a huge scar on his left, like all the way through his throat, all the way up to his eye. And some of them go some of the men there, they go up to him and ask like what's with the whole scar thing, but Izuku just ignores them and keeps walking. He doesn't trip at all, but she sees Uraraka there, and he sees that she already tripped and it was about to fall, but Izuku uses his telekinesis to bring her up. She's wondering who like used her quirk on her, and Izuku just comes to her and say, "Sorry if I used my quirk on you," with a smooth ass tone. And Uraraka, she blushes by the sight of him, and she just says, "It's all right, like it's her." Like she's like overall flustered and stuttering. So Izuku just pats her on the head and just says, "Sorry, I won't do that to you again." And he just continues to walk, and she was just left there like standing, like processing what just happened. But once she hears the bell like about to ring, like right when it's ringing, and she just like bolts it because she doesn't want to be late. So Izuku's inside. He takes the what's called the writing test, or I don't know how you call it. So, or what, like a quiz or something. He aces it with flying ass colors, and even fixes all the errors that Principal Nezu did that on purpose. So Nezu is looking over the test and sees that Izuku got flying colors and even fixed some of his errors. And Nezu, he's overall surprised, and he's thinking that even if he does not pass the hero what's called the whole hero training, or not training, the whole entrance exam, he will definitely make Izuku go in the support course or something around that, because he can use his smarts. And he tried to look up Izuku's records, but with no avail. It was restricted. And Izuku was Nezu was like, "Huh? What's this?" So he tried to gain access, but he needed a military code and personnel and all that. So Nezu is now surprised that he needs all of this just to check his records. So Nezu he calls up a bunch of his old pal friends, and some of them that were still in the military. And one of them was Gabriel. He asked why, do you know who Izuku is, and why his records are unauthorized for the school to see. And Gabriel just laughs and says, "You didn't know? Izuku was already in the military, and they don't really give out information that much." And Nezu, he's surprised that a boy he already knows that people from 18 to up can go to the military. He did not notice that Izuku was already been in the military that long, and he asked Gabriel how long he has been there. And he says probably for at least 10 years. He's not very sure, and he doesn't really keep on track. Nezu is dumbfounded. Nezu is smart and all, but for the first time he's actually dumbfounded. And he's very much intrigued of Izuku. Now, we're coming back to Izuku now. He's sitting down, and he was already the first one to already finish the test, and he's sitting down with his cap on. He's laying down, he has his cap over his head, and just overall trying to sleep. until, you know, what's called, I forgot his name, his Mike, Mr. Mike or something around that. I'm not really sure what his name is, but his hero name is like Mike. I think I'm just gonna call him Mike. He was the whole, like speech and all, and he talks about the 1-pointers, the 2-pointers, and 3-pointers. He skips over the 0-pointer. Being Ida being there, he tells Mike that he hasn't talked about the 0-pointer, and if this is like Ida being a bullshit kind of kid, being a rich ass kid, he's gonna like kind of have the same attitude as Bakugo, but he's gonna be like more pristine, and he's gonna act more like oh, I'm from this family and all that. I'm gonna make Ida like that because I don't really like Ida, and two, that's all. I really don't like Ida. So Ida is telling to Mike why they haven't settled about the 0-pointer and just pointing out. He's just like yelling at this point. And Mike was about to tell him why until Izuku just looks at Ida and just shouts, "Shut the hell up." And everyone, they look straight at Izuku, and Izuku just giving out this aura. And some of them are like in fear. They fear him because of his aura. His aura looks like a freaking dragon, not gonna lie. So, like, some of the teachers, they were there, and they watch as Izuku, like, his aura looks like a freaking dragon. And some of them, like, shuts up. Ida, he just sits down, but he's, like, mumbling as well. And Bakugo, he's in another section of the UA, so he doesn't really hear about this. Until Mike finally gives about the 0-pointer, and you just, run away from it. And Izuku, he brought his weapons with him, so he has like his katana, he has his deagles, deagle, and he brought them back from the military. He had them specially ordered, so he brought his two deagles, and he has his katana, his two deagles on his back of his hip. And he wanted to take his father's M1 Grand, but he decides that he doesn't really want to ruin it, so he leaves it at home. Because he thinks that this is not even going to be much of a challenge, since they don't really need to see him at his overall strength. And once they try to line up, Izuku, he was walking in front of everyone, trying to get front of the line, or like front of the whole class, or not class, the whole participants. And Ida thought that he's gonna go and talk to the girl who was nervously shaking in front. So he went to go and he grabbed Izuku's arm. And you do never ever sneak up on a man who has been in the military and seen through shit. So Ida, he gets his ass handed to him. Izuku just grabs his arm and just does a full-on, I wouldn't say flip, but he flips Ida to his back, and Izuku, at this point, he's crushing his arm. He has an arm lock around his neck, and he takes out his gun and points it at Ida, and he whispers something to his ear, saying, "If you do that again, I won't." He's whispering, trying to make sure no one ever hears him, saying, "I will kill you on the spot." And he cocks his gun, and students are seeing this, and some of the heroes sees this, and the teachers as well. They want to go and see if they can stop it, but Izuku just gets up and holsters his gun. Ida, he's in fear, he's shaking, and Izuku doesn't really care and continues to walk in front of everyone, and everyone just gives him a line for he can pass because they really don't want to fuck him over or get him mad. So Izuku's in front, and he sees Kami and Uraraka there. He sees a bunch of women there. He's not looking for someone at this point. He thinks that they're hot and all, but he doesn't give them an attention or anything. And Kami notices that Izuku's staring at her, so she just smiles. And once Mike says, "Alright, students, are you ready?" And he says, "Open the gates and we'll go in 3, 2," and like the gates are like mid open at this point, and Zuko just runs. He doesn't really care. He doesn't really care, and some of the students are telling, "Hey, stop him. He's cheating. And look, he's wearing weapons as well. What the fuck?" And some of the teachers, and they don't really care. And Mike just says, "Well, in a real fight, heroes don't wait, they just go, so get your asses moving." And everyone is running and they're panicking. So they're trying to see if they can get points. And Izuku, he took down at least 10 3-pointers in just a minute. How he uses his katana to cut through some of the 3-pointers, and he uses his deagles and imbues them with fire and shoots at the rest of them. He has around like at least 20 points, and he continues to fight. And he shoots a couple of his blasts at the robots. Some of them were 2-pointers, 1-pointers. And he slices through a 3-pointer. And he sees that another kid was about to get hit by a robot. So he shoots at the, what's called 0-pointer. I mean, not the 0-pointer. The 1-pointer that was about to attack this, teenager. So he shoots at it and it explodes. And Izuku, he's quickly taking care of these robots since they were a piece of cake. And he goes up to a building and scouts out if there's more robots or not. And other the teachers are watching, Mirako is watching, and she's overall impressed on his physical and his stamina. And his quirk as well. And she asks the teachers what his quirk is, and Nezu tries to look up, but it's classified. And Nezu just says, "I don't really know. This kid's quirk is classified. What the fuck is on?" The other teachers aren't they're wondering the same, and what is this kid's quirk? And All Might's there, and he's looking, and he sees that Izuku's quickly taking care of all the robots, and he is just amazed and wished that he was his, protege, his successor. But he knows that this kid did not want to, so instead of giving the quirk to Izuku, he gives it to Mirio. And no, I'm not gonna give one for all to Bakugo because that would just be shitty, and I don't really like him. So we cut back to Izuku. He's shooting a couple, and he reloads and he just continues to shoot. And he has it overall around at least 100 points by this time, and he's at the scoreboard. He's first at the scoreboard, and he just sits there, and he's just wondering when this boring ass test is gonna end, because this is way too easy even for college. And he hears the rumbling. He can feel it as well, and he looks up and he sees a 0-pointer, and it's a little bit far away from him. So Izuku says, "Finally a challenge," and Izuku's happy because overall they were just weak, and he just was disappointed. But now he actually thinks it might be a challenge, so he goes over there and see if he can fight it. He sees Uraraka and some rubble falling on her, and it's not just her leg that fell on her. Her half of her body is crumbled on. All the rocks just fell on her. So half of her body is what's called rocks all over her. She tries to use this as a quirk, but she already has she's on her limit, so she won't be able to use her quirk. And Izuku noticed this, so he quickly goes down and takes off the rubble like it was ease. And he carries her, he flies back towards the rest of the students and just, told a random student to carry her or take her to just the nurse. Until then, they finish and all. Izuku sees the 0-pointer, and the 0-pointer was right about to step on Izuku, but Izuku just holds on to the 0-pointer's leg. Or feet, actually. So he's pushing the 0 pointer, and he doesn't have time to use his quirk and push the 0 pointer away. So he's using his physical strength, and you're wondering, how can Izuku use his physical strength at this minimum? Like, he's not even using his quirk, but he's able to hold a freaking million-ton, like, just a robot. Well, he has a fighting spirit, and he's using his flames inside of his body just to heat up enough to give him, like, enough edge of his strength. So he's holding up the 0 pointer, and a couple of heroes sees this, and they think that he's in trouble. So some of the heroes went down to see if they can actually help, but Izuku, he got his handle, So he pushes the 0 pointer's foot back enough where he can use his quirk and flies away. Once Izuku got all the way up, he just uses his quirk to cover his hand in flames and just charge at the 0 pointer. And he hits him directly at his face, and it explodes. Right in the face, and explodes on impact. And Izuku's whole body's enveloped in flames, and Izuku's falling rapidly towards the ground. So Mirko sees this and grabs Izuku, but she was trying to hold on to him, but he has a lot of weight on him, so it was kind of difficult for her, but she was able to hold on to him. And Izuku, he's fading out conscious because he got full on blast to his face while he was on guard. He did not know that it would go that much of an explosion on him. So Izuku, he's kind of fading out and fading in, but he just shakes his head and gets up. He hits his head a couple times just to get the ringing out of his ear, and sees that Minako, or how you pronounce her name, Mirko, is right on top of his face, and so he accidentally kissed her while he was getting up. And Izuku, he opens his eye and just sees Mirko on top of him, and she's just eyes wide as fuck, and she's blushing as well. She's as red as a fucking tomato by now. And Izuku, he has no emotion on his face and all, but inside he's like, what the fuck? So he quickly apologized and was about to walk away until Mirko just grabs his hand and just full on punch him in the face, sending Izuku flying and hitting a wall, creating a little small crater. And Izuku, he gets up from this crater and he rubs his jaw, and it was a little bit dislocated, so he pops it back in. And Izuku, he's half naked. Here, so he's like this. He's a couple scars all over his body, and he's half full on half naked. His pants were about to he had fireproof pants because he doesn't really want them to get burned, but he forgot to fireproof his the rest of his attire. His cap that he wear, that he has a rank and everything, it's kind of fine, but at the same time it's barbecued. And his eye patch is barbecued as well, so he's not wearing his eye patch right now. So Mirko, she looks up from freaking embarrassment, and she sees that Izuku has a huge scar all the way through his to his neck, all the way heading up to his eye, and it looks like a freaking thunderbolt, and his eye is fully white and kind of a little disfigured, but it's alright. So Izuku, he cracks his neck a little, and he heads towards Mirko, and he apologizes once more, and he should probably start heading back. And Mirko, she's just actually amazed that this guy can act and keep a straight face while talking to her, even though he literally stole Mirko's first kiss. And Mirko was about to punch him once more, but Izuku, this time he stops it. So he holds her hand, her hand was like a fist, so he just holds it and brings her closer to her. And she's just blushing because he's just holding her like what people like were dancing with, like how you dance, like he like it does a full on bow and everything like that. I forgot how like it looks. I know how it looks like, but I don't know how to pronounce it. And those who know how it looks like that. So she just like looks at his glamorous body and just faints. She has a little nosebleed, but she faints. And Izuku carries her bride style and just heads towards the nurse. And Miss Recovery Girl, like, she sees this and says, how the hell is she not hurt? She, like, literally punched you. And she looks at Izuku and says, oh, that's why. And Izuku doesn't really know what's happening, but he just walks away, thinking and replaying all the things that happen in his mind, and he blushes for a second. But he gets rid of that emotion, since he hasn't felt emotion, like he hasn't felt love, like that compassionate love. He felt like compassion all from his own comrades, but he hasn't felt love. Well, there was a few women in the military, and they were like into Izuku, but he was like more focused on his goal than he had time with relationships. So Izuku, he's walking home until All Might and a few of the heroes stop him and ask why like his whole thing is classified. And Izuku just says, you don't need to know about that. And if you have a problem with that, I don't really care. So he uses telekinesis to fly, and All Might was about to jump and grab him, but Izuku was already gone. And Izuku heads back to home, and he just sleeps. He goes to a bathroom, applies first aid, because he didn't ask Miss Recovery Girl to heal him up. He had a few scrapes and all, so he used alcohol and bandaged it all up, and he went back to his room. So this is where I'm gonna end it, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you all later. Bye.